few days back, Microsoft has launched the latest version of .NET Core, and this version is .NET 8. Along with the .NET 8, C# 12 has also been launched, and there are so many features that has been added in C# 12. This .NET 8 is an LTS version. It means this is going to be supported for a long time, which means that you can use this .NET 8 in your production applications. And there are so many great features that has been added in C# 12. And I'm very much sure that you will use most of these features in your applications. In this video, I'm going to focus only on C# 12 new features, and I will explain everything very deep. So I am very much sure that after watching this video, you will have a very clear understanding of all the features of C# 12. If you are watching this video for the first time, then my name is Nitish Kumar, and I'm a Microsoft MEP in Developer Technologies for 3 years now. And I always make the programming content, and you can get the information on these links. Now let's focus on C# 12 new features. Here I'm using a Windows operating system, and on this Windows operating system I have installed .NET SDK 8.0. If you want to install .NET Core SDK, then these are some steps. First of all, you can open any browser of your choice, for example this one, and here you can search for .NET download. Just hit the enter button and you will get first link. Click on this one, and this will redirect you on this website, which is .net.microsoft.com, and there is a link for download. Here you can see we are having this download .NET for Windows, and this is the latest version. Here you can see it is an LTS version. It means long-term support, and this was released on 14 November 2023. You can simply click on this link and you will get an exe in your system. Once you will get that exe, then you have to double click on that exe and just follow a couple of steps, and there will be a couple of next buttons. Click on all of them and you will get the latest version of .NET Core. Now if you want to verify that you have really installed .NET Core SDK, then here are some steps. Simply open an command line tool of your choice. So here I'm using this command prompt, and here you have to type .NET -info. Hit the enter button, and here you will get a detailed information of .NET on your system. So this is the latest version that I have installed. It is 8.0.1, and there are other information. This is OS, this is Windows, and this is the OS version. I'm using this Windows, and this is my 64-bit system. Now there are information about my previous installation as well. So here you can see I'm having this 6, 7 and 8 RC versions as well. Now if you do not want to install your .NET Core like this by using this SDK, and you simply want to work on the Visual Studio. So Visual Studio is basically an editor from Microsoft, and this is also used for .NET based, or not only .NET based, on any kind of application development. So if you are using Visual Studio, then you will simply have to click on this help, and here you will notice we are having this button check for updates. So this will basically open the Visual Studio installer, and over here you will get a window to update your Visual Studio. If you will update your Visual Studio to the latest version, then you will automatically have the .NET Core SDK in your system. That's it. So this was all about setup, and in this entire video I will be using Visual Studio, this latest version. But whatever concept I'm talking over here, everything is applicable on Visual Studio Code as well. It means you can use any editor of your choice. You just have to use .NET Core SDK. Now let's focus on our first concept, which is Primary Constructor. And here I have created a couple of projects in my system. So here you can see we are having 8 projects. All these 8 projects are available at my GitHub repository. So if you will open this browser and simply just type this URL, this is github.com Nitish Kaushik, and then what's new in C# 12, this is the name of my repository. You will get this entire code. You can also get the link of this repository from the description box of this video. Now once you will open this link, make sure to click on this star button. That's it. This is my first feature, and first feature is Primary Constructors. For the Primary Constructor, I have created a very basic console application, and in this console application you can see I'm having this program.cs class, and in this program.cs class I have not make any change. I have one more class which is employee.cs class, and over here I'm having one method which is this public string full name. So basically this method is returning full name based on 2 values. This is first name and last name, and I'm getting these values in the constructor over here. So here you can see I'm having basically 2 parameters, and I am assigning them to to these local fields, right? So these are local fields. You can also create some properties over here and you can assign your values in those properties, and then you can use your properties over here. This is how we generally work in C# application. But if you will focus a little bit on this code, then you can see that we are having something duplicate code. What is the duplicate code? Basically, I want to use the value that I have in this parameter, which is first name. To use this value, what I'm doing, I have to create either field or property over here, and then I have to assign this value of this first name to that particular field or property in the constructor, and then only I can use this value in my methods or basically anywhere in this employee class. Now, there is a new feature with name primary constructors, and primary constructor is saying that among all the constructors in your class, there must be one constructor which is going to be primary, and if it is primary, then we must follow its signature while creating the instance of that particular class. Now, if you are thinking that this is something very complex situation, then do not worry. Let's make it very simple. Okay, before making any change in this employee class, first let's test this method with the current settings. So here I am in this program.cs class, and let's create a new instance of that employee class. So this is employee, and like this. And if I'm creating the instance, then I have to provide two values. So this is my, let's assume, first name, put a comma, and then I'm having the last name. Okay, and if I want to get the values, so what I can do, employee dot full name, and this full name will return a value, and we can use that value anywhere, or basically let's use one result variable over here, and let's just use it over here in this console.writeLine method. Okay, let's just run this application. Here you can see I'm getting this message which is full name Nitish Kaushik, and this is very simple concept. I have not done anything fancy over here. This is what we always use in .NET programming language. Now let's do something very interesting concept. So for this one, I'm just going to copy these parameters and let's just paste them over here. Now I can simply comment all these things like this. Now because I'm having these parameters, first name and last name, so I can access these values directly anywhere in this entire class. So it means I no longer have to use this and this. If you will focus on the code, let's just remove it. See what we have over here. We are having only very basic lines in this class, and the code is very much readable. Let's quickly recap what we have done. We have created one constructor along with the name of this class, and this concept is called as primary constructor. You do not have to make any change while you are creating the instance of this class. It means there will not be any change over here. This concept, creating the instance of the class, is still same as it was in the previous concept. Now let's just run this application again, and this time again you will see that we are having this message which is full name is equals to this Nitish Kaushik. Very well. Now let's assume that you want to use this primary constructor in your application, but there are so many other situations that you need to take care of. Let's talk about all of them. Let's say that I have a situation in my class that I have to assign the values of these parameters to either a field or property. Then how can I do that? What does it mean? It means, for example, here I'm having these two properties, okay, and I want to use these properties. I do not want to use these parameters directly. So what can I do? In this case, I can simply assign the values directly over here. Last name. And just for the identification, let's just update the names like this. And if I will use them over here, first name and last name, right? Let's just run this application again. This time again you will see we are getting that similar message on this console output window. There could be a question in your mind that a class in C# can have multiple constructors. What will happen if I want to create multiple constructors in my class? Is that still possible or not with this primary constructor concept? Yes, that is totally possible, and let's see how to deal with that scenario. Now this is not required. Let's just comment both of them, and here let's use the first name and the last name, and here let's get few more constructors like this. Immediately you will see we are getting an error message. What is the error message? If I will hold my mouse over here, then you will see a constructor declared in this type with parameter list must have this constructor initializer. What if I want to have a constructor where I want to pass, let's say, 3 properties? It means these first name, last name, and along with them something else as well, like this. So I want to have basically 3 constructors in this class. One is this primary constructor, another one is this parameterless constructor, and the third one is this constructor with 3 parameters. Why we are getting this error now? Now just focus on the concept. This primary constructor is basically making one of your constructor as primary. If it is primary, it means all other constructors has to follow the concept that we have written in the primary constructor parameters. So if your primary constructor is expecting some parameters, then all other constructors has to follow that approach, and this is basically a guarantee that you will always get something in those parameters. So how can we fix this problem? Here you can see that if I will type this and like this, so I have to pass 2 values in my primary constructor. So here, because I do not have anything in this constructor, so I can simply pass this empty value, or you can also pass null over here. Same concept goes over here. So you have to pass this, and either you can pass again that empty or null, or you can pass some values from your these parameters. So what I'm having is first name, last name, like this. Now this is not always the case that you will have to pass only these default values. You can also pass some hard-coded values as well over here. For example, if I want to pass A and B, like this. Now let's understand what will happen in this case if I want to create the instance of my class by using this parameterless constructor. So here I am on this program.cs. First of all, I want to run this application without making any change. Okay, let's run it. And here you can see everything is working fine. Now let's just comment this first one, and this time create the instance without passing anything over here, like this, and let's just run it. We will understand what will happen in the output. Here you can see we are getting the output as A, B. It means the values that we are passing over here, these values, these are being used as the first name and the last name. Now let's try this constructor as well. So for the third one, I want to pass, let's say it is 100, and let's just run this application again. This time again you will see we are getting the proper message because we are passing whatever value we are getting over here to this particular constructor. Let's make some changes as well over here. So let's say it is n, and here it is only k. Save it, run it again, and you will see we are getting this output message. I hope this concept is making some sense now. I understand that there could be one more question in your mind. If you are following C# 11, then there is something that has been added in C# 11 which is called as records, and a similar concept is already there in the records. What does it mean? It means here I have created a record which is employee record, and in this employee record I can create these 2 properties. Just focus what I'm saying. I'm saying properties over here, but in this class case I am saying that these are parameters. Let's make it record first, like this. Now let's just get a new instance of this employee record and let's see what will happen. So here I am on this program.cs class. So basically this is my employee record, and employee record, and like this you will have to pass some values. So let's say it is A, put a comma, and let's say it is B. There is no difference so far. This is what we were doing in case of this class as well. But if I will use this object which is employee record, this one, and if I will just simply press dot, then you can notice I'm getting both of them over here, right? This is the first name, and here you can see that this is a property. But if I will just press dot over here, or in this case let's simply use this first one, although there is no difference, but let's just use this employee dot, then you can notice I am not getting those first name and last name. So what is the concept over here? The concept is that the parameters that we have written in records, those are considered as properties and they are accessible outside the scope of this class. It means while creating the instance of this record, you can access those properties and you can set and get the values. That is not possible in case of primary constructors. You can only pass the values in the primary constructors, but you cannot access and set or get the values outside the scope of this particular class. So that is the main difference in between records and the primary constructor in C#12. Okay, let's just comment all these things, this one as well, and I don't need this concept also. Now again, here is one more question about this primary constructor. We always focus on object oriented programming, and in the object oriented programming we create some parent child relationship. Now how can we handle the situation if we are using primary constructor with the parent and child concept? Let's focus on that concept now. Okay, so for that I have created another class which is parent employee, and in this parent employee again I'm using this primary constructor which is basically expecting only one single value, which is first name. And I have again one method over here, this is public string parent employee name, and basically I'm just returning whatever value I'm getting over here. I just want to focus how can I pass the values from my child class to the parent class constructor. So for that, first I have to make a relationship in between this child and the parent class. So let's just copy the name of this parent class, go back to this employee class over here, and let's just inherit it like this. Okay, now you can see immediately we are getting a message that there are some parameters that we need to pass to this parent class. And how can we do that? We can do that like this. You can simply use the parenthesis over here and you can pass your values. For example, if I want to pass only this first name, then I can do it like this. This is done. Now what will happen if I'm using a normal constructor over here? What does it mean? It means, let's just cut it. Let's use this thing and paste them over here, and basically just use this quick actions and create a new field, and this time let's use this dot first name like this. In this case as well you can use this similar concept, and when whatever you have written over here, this will still work. This was all about primary constructors in C#12. Now let's focus a real-time example of this concept. So for this real-time example, let's first close all these tabs and let's open this second application. So right click on this one and choose set as a startup project, and here you can notice I'm using .NET 8. So this is basically an web application and this is an API application. So this is a very basic REST API application, and over here I'm simply getting some data of the employees. Here you can see I'm having one model which is employee model. There are only 4 fields, and for that I have created repository which is employee repository, and basically I'm returning a couple of hard-coded values over here using the primary constructor, because my main focus is on using the primary constructor. So either you can get this value from a database. Basically we use entity framework core and we use the DbContext and we get all this information from a database, but let's not focus too much about that. We are now getting the value as an hard-coded, and I have also created one interface which has only one single method which is called as this employee repository, and it has only this one single method. Right now if I open my program.cs class, here you can see that I have added this dependency as a singleton, and this is the employee repository, and this is the class that is implementing this repository. Now I have created one controller class as well over here. This is employee controller over here, and here you can see that I'm using the primary constructor. So what I'm doing, I'm using this constructor injection, and here I'm simply using that employee repository, and this is the name, and by using this employee.get employees I am getting all the values. If you are thinking that we are having only one single parameter over here, and if we will use that previous concept of creating the constructor and again create the field or property and assign the values of this parameter, then I think there is not very much difference. But just focus that you are having 5 or 10 or n number of dependencies over here. In that case you have to write multiple lines of code, and these are not of any use. Now you can simply inject your dependencies like this and you will get your values. So to test it, I have again created this new concept which has been added in Visual Studio. So this is the .http file, and I can test my APIs directly from this HTTP file. Now let's just run this application. This application is working on the localhost. If I will click on this send request button, then you will notice that I'm getting some values over here, and these are all the values that I have written as an hard-coded. If you want to test it by putting a breakpoint, then that is also possible. So here let's put a breakpoint like this. Again go back to this HTTP file and click on this send request, and you can notice that we are getting the debugger over here. Okay, now if you want to go inside this get employee method, go to implementation, and let's just put a breakpoint here as well. Click on this continue button. You can see everything is working fine as expected, and click on this continue button, and here is the output of this particular application. Now this was a real scenario of using primary constructors in C# application. Now let's focus on our second concept, which is called as collection expression. This collection expression is a very great feature and you will really love it. Let's focus on this one. So again, I have created one console application, and this is the program.cs class, and in this program.cs class I have created two things. One is this array and second is this list, and this is how we generally declare an array and a list. But if you are talking about the collection expression, then there is a new way of dealing with the collections. How to do that? So let's say I want to declare one more array over here with, let's say it is 2. So this time you do not have to use these curly braces. You can simply use the square bracket over here like this, and that's it. This is how you can declare an array in C# programming language, and make sure you are using C#12 for this feature. The same concept is also applicable on other collection types, for example this list as well. So earlier we have to use all these things, this new keyword, this list, and this parenthesis, but this time you can simply remove all of them, and let's just use this square bracket and see everything will work as it was working earlier. If you will try to just loop through all the values, so let's say I'm using this for each loop, and here I'm using this list, and just display the values on the console.writeLine method like this. First of all, we have to set it up as the startup project like this. Let's just click on this one. See, we are getting all the values. The similar case is applicable with this array 2 as well. Now this was all about declaration of the collections. We can use some spread operators as well over here. What is that spread operator? So let's say I'm having this list, and from this list I want to create one more list. So let's say my list is of integer type, and this time the name is list2. Okay, and that's it. This is my empty list. You can do the empty list like this. Now let's say I want to copy all the elements from this list to this list2. How to do that? So here you can simply use this spread operator, and you can use the list like this. That's it. Now all the elements from this list has been copied to this second one. Okay, so let's just use this list2 and try to run this application again. See, we are getting all the values over here in that list2. Now along with this list1, I want to add few more elements over here. So this is very simple. Just put a comma, and let's say I'm writing this 6, 7, 8. That's it. Now we are getting the concatenation of this list and these values. Run this application again, and see, we are getting all these elements in this list2. You can put the name of your collection anywhere in this declaration. The placement does not matter. You can even use it multiple times. For example, here I'm using it multiple times at the end as well, like this. So it means now I will get these elements 2 times in this list. Okay, the total length would be, these are 5 elements, and because I'm using it twice, so there will be 10 plus these 3, so there will be 13 elements over here. Let's run it. See, we are having 13 elements over here. And basically this is a very good concept if you want to concatenate few values. And one more concept, this is not only applicable to only one single list. You can use multiple over here. Let's say I'm using this 3 over here, and let's use the 3 as well like this. Now you will also get the values from this list 3, and just for the testing purpose you can update them like this. Run it again. See, we are getting all the values from whatever logic we have created over here. So this was a very great concept about the collection expression. Now let's talk about what questions you have in your mind, and I'm sure that you will have only one question, which is where keyword. What will happen if I want to use where keyword for these declarations? What does it mean? It means if I want to use some where keyword over here, what will happen in that case? In that case, you will see that we are getting an error. It means if you are using collection expressions, then you have to explicitly define what kind of data you are using for that particular type. So it means this where keyword will not work in this case. Why? Because this similar value can be assigned to different kind of collections, and this is very much obvious that the compiler will get confused because there are some ambiguities, and to avoid that we have to explicitly define the type of this particular data over here like this. So this was all about the collection expression in C# 12. To be honest, I seriously think that this is a very great feature and we all will love it. Don't forget to share your feedbacks in the comment section below. Now let's focus on the third concept. The third concept is this Ref Readonly Parameters. Okay, so again I have created one console application, and first let's focus on what we have now. So again, this is a very simple application, and here I have created one very basic concept. So this is my main method, and along with this main method I have created one more method, which is display value. Okay, in this display value method I'm expecting one parameter, and I'm basically displaying whatever I'm getting in this parameter over here by using this value, and then I am increasing this value by 1. Okay, now let's talk about this main method, and over here I have one variable which is of integer type. This is my number, the value is 10, and now I'm calling this method which is display name, and I'm just passing this value, this 10 over here, and I'm just displaying this 10 over here as well. It means I'm displaying this value 2 times. One is in this display value method and another is in this main method. And in C#, you know that there is a concept of value type and reference type, and if we are writing our code like this, then we are dealing with the values only, we are not dealing with the reference. Let's just make sure by running this application. So here I'm using this set as a startup project and run it, and here you will get that I'm getting the values 10 and again 10 over here. Although the value is getting increased over here, but that updated value is only available inside this particular method. That updated value is not making any change or sense over here in the original values. Now what will happen if I'm passing the values by using the reference? So here let's say I'm using this reference keyword. Now what will happen in this case? Now we are not passing the value, we are passing the actual reference. So we are passing this 10 over here, and again we are in this display value, so we are just displaying the value 10, and now we are increasing this value by 1. So ultimately the value of this number is 11, right? So this will also be 11. Now we are displaying the value over here, so ideally we will get the output 10 from here and 11 from here. Let's run it and make sure that this is the output. See, we are getting this 10 and 11. Now here comes the feature of C# 12. Now if you are dealing with this kind of situation and you do not want to pass the values by reference, then you can avoid that by making it read only. You can use that read only keyword over here like this, and now you can see we are getting the error at the compile time, which is saying that you cannot assign the values in that number, or you cannot make any change in this number's value because this is a read only concept. But I know that you love C# programming language, and we already have something to deal with this kind of situation. What is that? That is in. So we can simply use that in keyword over here, right? And again we will get this similar output, similar error. Although there are very less chances of using this concept in your application, but still if you are having or dealing with this kind of situation, then this is something you can use to avoid this kind of value changes. So this was all about this reference read only parameters. Now let's talk about our next concept, which is default lambda parameter value. This concept is very much simple, but it is very helpful. Here again I have created one console application, and in this console application I have created this lambda. So this is the get square, and this is the parameter, and basically I'm just multiplying this number by itself and I'm getting the square value. And over here I'm just calling this method by using this console.writeLine method. I'm passing 5 and I am getting some output which I'm displaying direct on the console screen. So I have set it to the default, and let's just run it and see what is the output. Here you can see we are getting 25. If you would have created this application by using some previous versions, for example .NET 6 or .NET 7, and in that case you want to assign some default values to this parameter, then you will get an compile time error. But this feature has been added in .NET 8, means C# 12. So now you can assign some values over here like this. So this is basically the default value of this lambda parameters. And let's just add one more line over here, and this time let's not pass anything over here. I'm just calling it without passing any parameter because we already have a default value. Let's run it and see we are getting different value, which is 100. It means I'm getting the output from the default value. So this was very simple, very small, but very much helpful update. Now let's talk about the new update, which is Alias Any Type, and this is something really interesting. Before talking more about this concept, I want to ask you a question. What is an alias in C# programming language? I can understand that you do not know the answer, but I am 100% sure that you are using this concept in almost all your C# applications. So what is the alias? Do you remember that string class that we use in C#? So we basically have a string class with that capital S, but while declaring the value we use that small s. What is the difference in between them? There's no difference. The only difference is that that small s string is the alias of that capital S string class. That concept is called as alias, and we can create some custom alias as well in our application. So basically we can create alias for the namespaces, we can create alias for the classes, but with the update of this C#12 you can create your alias of almost any type in C# programming language. Let's see what does it mean. So for that, let's just set it up as the startup project, and here I'm having this program.cs class, and in this program.cs class basically I have this main method and I have written some code. But before that, let's focus what we currently have. So let's say I'm having this employee class and I want to just define the alias of this employee class. So what we can do, outside this class declaration I can use the using keyword like this, and I can define any meaningful name. For example, let's say Nitish employee, and here I can write that employee like this. Now I can simply use this name, which is Nitish employee, in place of this employee class in this entire program. Let's just comment whatever we have over here, don't worry about that. So here I'm having this Nitish employee, see, employee, and we are creating the instance. Now in this employee class I have one method which is getName, and let's just use the console.writeLine and employee.getName like this. Okay, let's just run it, and you can see we are getting the output from that method. This was possible in the previous versions also. Now let's just comment this code and deal with some complex situations. Now let's talk about our another example, which is tuples. So here I have declared a tuple which has basically two values. This is x and the y. You can give any meaningful name as per your need, and you can also declare any kind of type based on your need. So what I'm doing, this is the name, and here I have declared some values, and now I'm using this tuple over here in my console.writeLine method just to display these values. So let's just run it and see what is the output. The output is that 10 and 20, because these are two things that I'm displaying on this console window by using this console.writeLine method. Now let's say I want to create an alias of this tuple. Can I do that? Yes, we can do that. So here I'm just going to copy it. Make sure you are doing it outside the scope of this class. Okay, so here let's say I'm using this custom point like this and just define it like this. Now instead of using this int x y, you can simply use that name like this. Now this code make much more sense, and if you are using this tuple multiple times in your application, then you do not have to write that type multiple times. You can simply use this alias and this code will be much more readable. Now let's talk about one more example. So let's say here I'm having this 2D array. So my 2D array is integer type like this, and let's say it is my array. Let's say this is my 2D array, and over here I want to use the alias for this type. So again I can use another type. For example, let's say this is using, and you can give any meaningful name over here. Here let's say I'm writing this my 2D array, and over here you can just define that type, basically this one, put the semicolon and simply use this type over here, and this will still work like this. This is how you can use alias in your application, and now with the C#12 you can make the alias of almost any type. That is all in this feature. And one more very important thing, keep sharing your feedback in the comment sections about all these concepts. What is your opinion about them? What do you think about them? Are they useful or they are kind of waste of time? Whatever you think about them, feel free to write everything in the comment section below. Now let's close all the tabs and focus on our next feature, which is called as inline array. Just like this ref read only, this inline array is also a kind of feature that you will rarely use. But as per this concept, you can declare an array by using this struct. So here you can use this struct. Let's say this is the name. You can give any meaningful name over here, and this is the private field over here that I have declared. And by using some attributes, you can create your inline array. So what I'm doing over here is basically I'm creating an array by using the inline concept, and that array will have 10 elements and all of them will be of integer types. So this is the integer type and this is the length of that array, and this is how we can declare this array by using the attributes only. This is how you can declare your array by using the struct, and there is no difference while you are calling this particular array. So here I am in my program.cs class, and see what I'm doing over here. Basically I'm creating the instance of this buffer, and first I'm assigning 10 values, and then I'm just displaying all the 10 values over here on the console screen by using this console.writeLine method. Let's just run this application and see what is the output. See, I'm getting all 10 values. So this is a feature that I guess you will rarely use, but this could be very much helpful if you are developing some libraries in your applications. So in that case, this is something really interesting and very much useful. Now let's talk about our next feature, which is called as experimental attribute. So again, I have created one console application for this one, and let's just set it up as the startup project. And this is the program.cs class, and in this program.cs class, what I have only one method, and because I want to call this method from this static main method, that is why I have created it as an static. Otherwise, this concept is applicable on all the types and all the methods in C# programming language. This is returning 0 as of now, so I'm assigning the value over here, and I'm just displaying it over here along with this hello world. Let's just run it and see if it is true or not. This is true, we are getting this output. But in case if you want to use this new feature, so you can use one attribute over here with name experimental, this one, and over here you have to provide a key. Let's say it is test. Now you can see that you will get an compile time error at the place where you are calling it. So it is saying that this get number method is an experimental, and basically you cannot use it because this is something that can be removed in the future releases. Just understand the concept of this attribute. In your application, if you are developing something that is only for some experimental purpose and you do not want to expose it to other classes or basically some other developers who are using your method, in that case, if you will use this attribute, then they will get an error, and it is like you cannot use this method. But if I cannot use this method, then what is the purpose? What is the situation where I can use it? For that, you can simply use this quick actions, and you can just suppress this error. That's quick actions, suppress this error in source like this. So now what I'm doing is, now I'm just disabling this error, and I'm explicitly saying that I want to use it. I know that this is the experimental feature, but I still want to use it, and by using this key, you can just disable it. Now if you will run this application, then again it will work like it was working earlier. Let's run it. See, we are getting this message over here. So this experimental attribute can be very much useful if you are dealing or developing something which is experimental and you do not want other developers to call your methods. In that case, they will get the compile time error. On the other hand, at a place where you want to really use it for the experimental purpose, then you can just disable it by using this concept, and you can use your experimental method. Let me know what do you think about this feature in the comment section below. And now here we are on our last feature, which is called as interceptors. So the interceptor is basically something that has been added in C# 12, and this is still in the preview version. So there are so many changes that are happening in this concept, but still it is under preview, which means this could be added in the upcoming versions, or this can totally be removed from this upcoming version. Everything depends on the future scenarios. So make sure you are not using this concept in your production application as of today. Now let's see what we have in this interceptor concept. Again, I have created this console application, and again just right click on this one and set it up as the startup project like this. And let's see what we have here. We are having this program.cs class, and here in this program.cs class, I am basically just writing some duplicate code. It means here I have this employee class and I'm calling this method 3 times, but there is a purpose because I want to show you a feature of interceptor over here. But before that, let's see what we have in this employee class. So this is the employee class, and over here I'm having only one single method, which is display name. Basically we are just passing one value, and whatever we are having over here, we are simply displaying it over here in this console.writeLine method, right? And over here in this program.cs class, we are calling it 3 times, so which means we will get our output, which is this same output 3 times on our console window. Let's just run it and see what's the output. We are getting this name 3 times. Extremely simple. Let's make some changes over here. 1 2 3, save it, run it again, and again you will see that we are getting all the values on this console window. Now here comes the concept of this interceptor. As per this interceptor concept, let's say I'm using this employee object and I'm calling this particular method. Now without making any change in this program.cs class and in this employee.cs class, I want to execute a different method instead of any one of them. and that is possible only by using the interceptor, which is in the preview version. To work with the interceptor, we have to make a couple of changes in this application. First of all, we have to open our CSPros file. You can open your CSPros file simply by just clicking 2 times on the name of your project like this, and here you can see I have added something new. So this new is interceptor preview namespace, and all the namespaces that will be used in this interceptor, I have to write all of them over here like this. So this is interceptor preview namespace. This is something that you will have to use, and this is something that I have added specific to this particular application. So where is this coming from? Let's see that. Remember what I said about the interceptor? I said that I want to replace this method implementation with a different method. So where is that different method? I need to create a new method for that. So here I have one more class, which is interceptor example like this. So this is an static class, and in that static class I am having this one method. See, interceptor display name. Now because I have to deal with the interceptor, so this is a must that you have to use it as an extension method of that particular employee class. Remember, we are not making any change in this employee class nor in this program.cs class. What we are doing, we are creating a separate class, we are creating a separate method over here, but we are creating it as an extension method of this employee class, which we can do like this. And based on your method, so let's say this method is expecting one parameter, I have also created one more parameter over here. And now what I'm doing, I'm just displaying a message console.writeLine, and this is just a different implementation of this method as compared to this display name. In this display name method, we are displaying the value directly, but over here we are simply adding some message and then we are displaying this value. So far it is very simple. Now we have to add one attribute over here, and that attribute is interceptor location. And what is that attribute? So this attribute is interceptor location, right? And here I have to provide couple of values. First of all, I have to provide the path of my target file. The target file is this program.cs class. I want to replace this implementation. You can use any one of them. Let's say I'm using this one. I want to replace this first one. So I have to provide the complete path of this particular file, which I can do simply right click and copy full path. Okay, go back over here, simply just paste it like this. So this is my complete path. Now I have to pass few more things over here. Put a comma, then we have to pass line. At what line I want to replace it. So the line number is, let's say 5 or maybe 6. So let's say I want to replace it at this 6. So the line is 6. Now I have one more, which is character. And what's the character? Which character you want to replace? So if you will count the character from this line, I know this is a kind of very weird feature, but this is what we have and this is how it works. So we have to use the character as well. I want to replace this particular character. So let's start it from this beginning. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I have to remove all these 9s, and then this is the 10th character. So here I have to use this 10. Okay. Now let's not make any further change in this application, just save all the changes and let's just run this application. Remember, we have not made any change in this employee class and in this program.cs class. Now let's just run it, and this time you will notice that we are getting the message on the second line from that interceptor method. Let's talk more about this attribute. This attribute is something that I have created in the same application. Let's open this new file, and here you can see that I'm having this sealed class. This is the name, and here I have added 3 parameters, and I am basically inheriting it from this attribute class. And here I'm using this attribute uses. This is basically I will use it on the methods, and I can use it multiple times. That's it. So don't think that this is something built in, but there is one very important thing that I have written over here. The namespace is this system.runtime.compiler services. And if you're dealing with the interceptor, then you have to use this namespace only. Okay. Now, do you remember I was talking about that CSPros file, and I was talking about this namespace? Where is this namespace coming from? So this namespace is basically coming from this particular file. So this is basically the method which will be replaced by that target method, and the namespace of this particular class, you have to use it over there, over here. So in case you are creating the console application by using console app1 or console app2, then whatever namespace you have over here, just copy it even if it is containing some dot, let's say it is dot and a, whatever you have, simply copy entire namespace and just paste it over here like this. Okay, now what I'm doing, I'm simply replacing only this second method. What if I want to replace the first method as well? So let's add one more line over here, and this time let's just define that b5, because I want to update the first method as well. So now we will update the first and the second. Run it. Now we are intercepting these two methods. Perfect. And if you want to create more methods over here, for example like this, so let's say it is 1, and this time let's say I want to deal with that 7th line, the last one. Let's just remove it. So what I will do, just for the identification, I'm adding this new as well over here. In the previous one we are not having this new, so this is just for the identification. There is no other difference. Let's just run it, and this time you will see we are intercepting all these three methods. So this is the new word that I have written in this third method, and this is how we can deal with the interceptors in C# 12, which is under preview version. And if you are watching this video so far, then congratulations, you have covered all the new features of C# 12. Let me know your feedback in the comment section below, which one was your favorite and which one is going to be very much useful. Also, which one you think is just a waste of time and this is something we will never use in our projects. Whatever feedback you have, please share it in the comment section below, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you for watching. Have a great day.